This is Metzi from Yellow Brick Card Club. You can find us at Yellow Brick Card Club on Instagram. There we have links to our free Discord, our video streams, and whatever else we got going on at the moment. You can find Pierce at Pierce Breaks on Instagram and YouTube, and at reddit.com/r/Pierce Breaks. Both of us run lively, free Discords. Come check us out and enjoy the show.
Everybody, you're listening to the Yellow Brick Card Show. I am Pierce, and with me today is Alex from Father and Son Sports Cards. Alex, how are you doing?
I am doing very well today. How are you, Pierce?
I am doing all right. We had you on an episode previously, and we had some technical issues, so we just got right into the meat of things and kind of jumped over your bio. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got into the hobby, and how you started breaking?
Yeah, sure. So like a lot of folks, I dabbled in card collecting as a kid. I was never like super into it. I had a very small collection that I basically threw away. I don't know, six months before I started actually really getting back into the hobby.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, and rather than baseball, the thing I was really into when I was younger was Pokemon cards. But I've always been kind of a collector of things. As a teenager in my early 20s, I had a very, very extensive DVD collection, something like 1,000 movies at one point.
Wow.
Yeah, I got to meld my love of woodworking to build like custom things to store all of these DVDs because it was immense. And so I've always been into collecting. I like collecting things, and going about the time the All-Star game came to Seattle. What was that? That was 2022? No, 2023.
23, yeah.
Yeah, that's when I really started to get back into card collecting. I went on a whim. I bought tickets to the Fan Fest and took my daughter down there, and went with my older sister, and they had a big Topps booth there, and I was just like, you know what, I'm here. Let's buy some packs. They had some Rapper redemptions that were going on, and I'm kicking myself now because they also had early sales on the Topps X J-Rod boxes that I ended up missing out on because I skipped them when I first got there first thing in the morning, and then when I came back they had already sold out, and so I had to buy it for what, 150 for the boxes with everyone else, and I don't know, a couple months later.
Right.
And so that was my first like foray. I just ended up buying like some fat packs and stuff. I remember the first card I was super excited about. I pulled a Francisco Lindor Stars of the MLB Chrome, and I popped onto eBay and looked it up and saw people listing their cards for $80. I was like, ooh, this is a good card. And as many of you know now, and what I soon learned out, no, it was not that great of a card. Make the classic mistake of assuming listings are comp values, which is not true.
Right. Well, and when you're completely new to the hobby, you see that Stars of MLB card, you're like, oh, this is shiny and cool. Like, this has to be something special.
Yeah. And so from there, I just kind of was buying some stuff here and there. And eventually I kind of hit on an idea because in May of that year, I had stopped drinking, and I was looking for ways to like motivate myself to continue that up. And so I was like, you know what? I'm ready to drop some money on a hobby box. And so I went to my LCS, I got a hobby box, and basically opened a pack a day for every day that I stayed sober. Eventually that very quickly wore off, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna rip 7 packs, and then I have to stay sober for the next 7 days, because the urge to rip overtook me.
Of course.
through that hobby box, I got my first all aces card, which, as someone who is as someone who really really likes the look of that set, who dabbles in amateur Magic, like I really like it's I fell in love with that card and decided I wanted to do the entire set of all aces. um and so I started diving really in deep into the baseball cards subreddit, and through that I met Matt, who runs the Father and Son Discord, just trying to, get a handful of aces I didn't already have. And he basically was just like, hey, I'll just send you this card for free. You don't need to pay me for anything. And seemed like a super nice guy in my Reddit interactions. And then eventually he just sent me an invite. He was like, hey, do you want to join this Discord that I have? And I said, why not? I'm not really on Discord, but seems like it'd be fun. Um, and once I got into there, it really kind of took over my life to some degree. um, because like I just really love the philosophy that Matt had for collecting. Um, kind of performing breaking as a service, and like really trying to foster a community of folks rather than just sort of the transactional nature that the subreddit seemed to have.
Right.
And so I really really enjoyed being in that community, interacting with everybody. Matt was just getting going with his breaking and jumping in and doing my first break and being like, this is really cool. And then in November of that year, David Adams um, ran a sale for Black Friday, and I picked up a couple of Cosmic Chrome boxes sight unseen because I really liked the look of the set and I really wanted to rip it. And I was just like,
That's awesome.
I'm just gonna buy these 2 hobby boxes for $600 and then see if there's enough guys on the Discord that want to jump in and do a break. And so I got Matt's permission. I did a break through his server, doing it nonprofit, which is what, or sorry, not for profit, which is what we do. And it was a blast. It really helped me discover that what I really enjoy in the hobby is opening packs and seeing what's in the boxes, more so than actually, keeping all the hits, especially if it's not a hit I care about. Like,
Exactly.
it's more of a pain, I think, for me to try and sell or get rid of those cards or trade those cards than it is for me to just run a break where I can just give the cards to the people that bought them. And so from there, it's just kind of is history. I've been basically running a break to 3 breaks a month. As I first started getting into it really regularly as a way to give Matt a break, because he was ramping up and he was breaking once a week, and just wanted to make sure that he had enough time for his family, and wasn't just constantly breaking and sorting. And as the server's grown, it's kind of turned more into like a full-time thing for me as well, just because we've got the demand for it. And I view breaking as a service to my other collectors because, I enjoy doing it. It gives a more affordable option for people to participate. And, I just want the hobby to be accessible for everyone, especially as costs have gone up. The other thing that I really, really loved about the hobby in general, as you guys have gleaned, and probably from my last appearance, is just all of the statistics that go into the hobby. Like, I really love diving into the odds and going into the checklists and just like computing and trying to figure out what the best product is and all those different elements. And so it's been a really fun project of like refining how we price our breaks and using all that information to like get to the best way to actually like give a good baseline cost for a break, as opposed to just kind of looking at what other for-profit breakers are doing and then just kind of adjusting to our own costs. I like having that little bit more scientifically, statistically sound sort of backing up of what we're doing, as opposed to just pricing for rookies.
Yeah, exactly. And we we, the Yellow Brick Card Show, have talked before about how much we appreciate the work that you do and how willing you are to share your work. I mean, for myself specifically, I mean, I've been using your spreadsheets basically since I started doing it. And, I just tweak a little bit here and there. But overall, I mean, I would not be able to do what I do at the scale that I do without all the work that you've put in. So I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm an
And,
open source kind of guy.
yeah. I mean, and that just speaks to what you're saying, about your community and how you guys are just trying to help everybody out and make the hobby a good, welcoming place and just share your knowledge with as many people as you can. And I think that really aligns with my philosophy, and Wax and Joe, they have similar philosophies. And where we can't say that we are not for profit, but we are not racking up, multiple hundreds of dollars per break or anything like that. Like some of the names, the big names that you see, you just look at it and you're like, how do people pay these prices? Like, how much these boxes cost, and is it really worth it to give somebody $500 on top of this break? Like, we're we're transparent about our prices, and it's not hard to tell that we're not like rolling in money. And also, just for me personally, all the money that I make basically goes into buying more cards for myself. So it's definitely cyclical. But yeah, we're
Yeah.
100% we're 100% aligned that we're providing a service for people, and it's more about opening cards, seeing cool cards, and getting them into the hands of the people that will appreciate them the most.
Yeah, and I justify it on my end by basically having. I think Wax actually recommended the credit card to me, but the PayPal credit card,
Oh
which gives
yeah.
you like 3% back. I'm like, okay, I'll get 3% cash back on all of the money I'm spending, and I actually used that to fund a big PC purchase that's supposed to show up tomorrow.
Oh boy.
Um, yeah, it's my first Ken Griffey Jr. auto, and it's a
Oh, that's
Lauren Taylor
awesome.
card.
Oh,
So it's
dang.
got the like awesome artwork with the
Yep.
Ken Griffey Jr. autograph on it. I'm really excited
That's
because I
sick.
love her. I love her work, and Ken Griffey Jr. is my favorite baseball player of all time.
Yeah, I knew
And
you're a big fan of those ones.
yeah, and so I used that to fund that, and then also just like using the breaks to help fund some credit card churning stuff and getting those sign up bonus miles so that it makes it easy for my family to go visit my family or my wife's family in DC. Like
Yeah,
I'm trying to use whatever benefits I can glean from breaking without raising the cost for other people,
right.
as a way to kind of give back to my family to a degree, because this is taking time away from them,
Yeah.
and I want a happy home life.
Yes, definitely. I feel like we've all been through that arc of, oh, this is fun, I should do this more often, to, oh, I'm doing this multiple times a week, to, I need to scale back to like once a week max. So I'm not taking up too much time away from my family,
Yeah,
especially.
and I don't want to go the jabs route.
Yeah. Oh God. I just heard about that whole saga earlier. It just like blows my mind.
Yeah.
But anyways, I will say, even obviously we get more benefits because we're spending a lot more on product with these cards. But for anybody who's, if you're buying cards on eBay, you can link PayPal to eBay and you get just as much rewards, even if it's in smaller increments. Any collector, I would highly recommend the PayPal credit card, because the points that you get are great.
Yeah, I
Big
buy all of
big
my
fan.
yeah, I agree. I buy all my eBay cards using that credit card. I use it's basically my hobby credit card,
Yeah.
because I buy stuff on pretty much all the online retailers take it. Like it's fantastic.
Definitely. So, speaking of breaks, what have you been ripping recently?
Yeah, so I haven't done a ton since the last time I was on. I know I had mentioned that I had just gotten my Bowman's Best case, and I was
Hmm.
breaking it that following weekend, and that was an absolute banger. You had mentioned it about how awesome your Bowman's Best
Hmm.
went, and then you pulled a superfractor and a triple autograph, and then I did my break, and then immediately had to one up you on your Discord because we pulled my first superfractor. It was a Jackson Holiday Impact Players 1/1 superfractor. Um,
Insane.
yeah, it's probably the best card I think I have ever pulled in the going just over a year of breaking that I've been doing. Um, the only thing that even comes close to it was at a 2024 update last year. I pulled a Paul Skeens Major League Material 1/1,
Hmm.
but that one had some corner damage. It wasn't in great condition. As far as I could tell, this Jackson Holiday card was perfect. Um, we ended up putting like $2,000 of insurance on it when I shipped it out.
Wow.
It was absolutely insane. And one thing that I feel like pictures don't really do superfractors justice.
Right.
Like they are so much prettier in person. I was blown away with the way that card looked under the light, and just
Hmm.
how it changed with different angles, and like it really deserves sort of the one of one designation. Like platinum cards, I feel they just look gray, whatever. I don't
Yeah,
really like the platinum one of ones,
I
but the
agree.
superfractors and the foil one of ones, those really look the way that I feel like a one of one card should look.
Definitely.
Um, and then the only other one that I did was I finished up the 2023 update hangers that I had left over from my progressive player auction draft. I did a really small division break with some of the patrons, the quote unquote patrons from our Discord, which are
Hmm.
really just guys that give us some money to help us run the boost the Discord and run stuff.
Operating costs. Yeah.
Yeah, and he like we really there was nothing really to write home about. It was what you would expect from a bunch of hangers. You get a lot of inserts, a lot of high numbered color, um, but nothing like super blow your mind.
Yeah.
Uh, the one thing that did happen during that PPA break that I forgot to mention was it was the first time I have ever pulled a 0303 out of 2023 gold parallel,
Hmm.
which is a date card that I collect. So it's March 3rd, 2023, because that's the day that my daughter was born. And
Wow.
just the odds of pulling a card that has that exact number, because it's essentially, when you're collecting a specific serial number, it's essentially a one of one for you.
Right.
Like, it was so cool to like look and see that. And then I was mentioning it on the stream, like, hey, I'm gonna reach out for this, and the guy that I pulled it for, he was just like, that's yours. And so like it made my day for the break. That's all I really could ask for, because at this point I think I've maybe got a dozen uh 0303 out of
Oh
2023
wow.
cards for her. It's been a lot harder trying to go back retroactively and get the 0208 2021 cards for my son,
Yeah.
but the 0303 ones have been popping up pretty easily. What about you?
Um yeah, last week I just did a half case of Archives Hobbies. Pretty much, we when our Archives released, I did a full case, and then obviously had to do a little bit more, so I grabbed a few more hobbies. And we actually, for our very own Wax Moronic, pulled a Robin Yount red auto to 10. So that was really cool. He was saying, he'd been seeing a lot of Brewers hits, so that's why he picked them, and it worked out for them. We also got a Shota Imanaga New Breed auto, which was my first time getting one of those insert autos. We didn't hit any in the first case, so that was really cool. It was interesting. I don't know if you've seen them in person, but the base autos aren't foil. They're just like paper,
Hmm.
which is interesting because the insert is foil. So that was a little odd, but I mean, it still looks really cool. I'm excited
I
about
mean,
pulling that
I kind
one.
of get it just because I know that the foil and chrome are more apt to smudge, but
Right.
that is very very interesting that it's not the same material.
Yeah. I'm thinking about it also though, because I think everything in archives is on card. I'm not sure if there are any stickers, but I don't know that well enough to say that definitively.
I have not seen any sticker autos out of
Yeah.
archives.
So maybe that's part of it too. And then lastly, wasn't huge, but we got both Dave Steeb and Jimmy Key for our resident Canadian hikes. So he was super pumped. He was in the chat. And so it was really cool. It's always, it's always great when you pull those. And that's why we love archives, is because they have those true fan favorites that they might not have the most value, but for the people that are fans of those teams, they're more valuable than the monetary value.
Yeah, 100%. I'm very excited. I've got my I'm doing a personal case break with a couple guys from our Discord that are Seattle
Right.
local, and we're doing that on Saturday. So I'm
Oh,
excited to
nice.
meet some guys in person and rip a case of archives.
Yeah, that'll be a blast. Do you have any other breaks coming up in the near future? I mean, of course, you
Um,
have breaks coming up in the near future. What are
yes, I
they?
do. Well, I'm actually gonna be scaling back in March because I got a house project to work on. But uh, in February, I am going to be breaking a half case of, they're called jumbos now, but the super jumbos of 2024 Bowman Draft.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I initially hadn't intended to do more than just like two of those super jumbos in a single break, which I did when it released. But there's a guy in our Discord who had bought a case and was having trouble moving it, and basically reached out and he was just like, "Hey, can you see if there's interest, and if you want, I'll let you break this case at cost, just so that I can kind of recoup some of the money that I spent on this," because he collects with his son, and basically what they do is they buy stuff and then they funnel whatever they get back into their hobby. And so, 2023 Bowman Draft that had Paul Skeens, it is worth an insane amount to get one of those boxes now. Like, the price of the box like doubled. And so it seemed like it was a decent investment, go for a full case, but it just wasn't moving. And
Yeah.
so he basically gave me the opportunity to break pretty much an entire case. And so we filled a half case first, and then I'm probably going to do a 2-box break and then a single box break at some point.
Nice.
And so hoping for that. The first 2 boxes I cracked, we got a Jack Caglione that was numbered out of like 150, which was probably the best hit out of those boxes. And then we got what's his name, JD Dix.
Oh, come
Yeah,
on. You can't forget JD Dix.
I couldn't remember what the initials were. I remembered his
Yeah.
last name was Dix, but I couldn't remember his initials.
Not a highly touted prospect, but still a
Not
D-backs prospect.
Yeah, but it was my first Bowman auto,
Yeah.
so it's it's not, that's essentially a one of one card because it's got the
Right.
specialty inscription that they only do on a single card.
Mm-hmm.
And so that one was also a really cool hit. And so I'm just hoping for more of the same. I
Just
I
more
just
one
I
of
just I
ones. I
just
mean,
Yeah, just more one of ones. I don't want to.
Nothing crazy.
I just don't want to rip it and get 15 just like, who are these people
Right.
autos.
For sure.
And it'd be cool to get a couple of the inserts that are harder to pull, because I don't think I've seen any of those before.
Mm.
And then in addition to that, I'm breaking I am splitting a full 2025 Series 1 jumbo case into 2 half case breaks that we're going to be doing the Monday after release day. And that one I am running as a lottery break because the slots are under $25.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I'll do in my lower priced breaks is since I run random order team drafts, sometimes people have very bad luck, and I wanted a way to give them better luck in some of the lower stakes breaks. And so basically I've computed like what their average draft position is, and instituted basically like the NBA or MLB draft lottery, where if you are always getting the worst picks, you get more chances at
Weighted odds.
Yeah, you get weighted odds to potentially get a higher pick, and it's been working out pretty well so far. And so I'm excited to do those ones.
Yeah, that's awesome.
What is coming up for you on the breaks? I know I'm in one of them.
Yes, you are in 2025 WWE Chrome. I believe we mentioned it. I don't remember if it was cut out or not in your last appearance, but we did end up doing the Superstar Draft, and it was a long weekend, but we knocked it out in a weekend, which I was really happy about. And I'm excited. I have those boxes sitting on the desk in front of me right now, so that should be fun. I've done a bunch of random Star Wars stuff, and it's always fun to look at cards that are not baseball cards.
I'm anxiously hoping that you pull a Rock Auto.
That would be insane. And it is our first EQL win, so it better have something good in there for us. And in conjunction with that, I'm doing 2023 Bowman's Best. As you stated, Bowman's Best was very good to us, and it was a lot of fun. Unfortunately, the prices shot up, as prices tend to do for 2024 sets, so I was able to find 2023 at a somewhat reasonable cost. So that's what I'm going to do. And it's funny, I had multiple people like, why are nationals so low? And it's like, well, it's 2023, not 2024. So
yeah.
I know it's a little confusing because 2024 just came out, but
I tell you, the number of people that will sign up for breaks when I'm doing a year earlier that get into the team draft, and then, definitely for like 2024, if I did a 2023 break and I got it going, we would start, and the first team would be like LA Dodgers, and I'd be like, this is 2023. Do you want to rethink that pick?
Yeah. Oh no. Yep. But it'll be fun. I haven't opened any 2023 Bowman's Best previously, so always excited to look at those designs because they're just cool cards. And then we are finally coming up on I'm calling it Valentine's Day grab bag, even though it's the week before Valentine's Day, but for lack of a better phrase, that will be coming up shortly, and I have the majority of the boxes in. So it's mostly 2022 to 2024 products. We have a box of opening day, which I'm excited about because there's always cool short prints in there. There's a bunch of Gypsy Queen, which I've never opened. We got a hobby box of 2021 Bowman, so that was a huge purchase by one of the entrants, which was very cool to see. And then today I actually got a 2024 Stadium Club compact box, or collector's box, whatever they're calling it now. So that's exciting too. Definitely some people who went above and beyond the $20 buy-in. So very excited about that.
Yeah, that one's going to be a lot of fun. I think you're going to have a blast opening Gypsy Queen.
Yes.
It's been fun every time I've ripped any of that. Though it's very similar in the way Archives is, of don't really even bother trying to find the variations.
Yeah.
I swear, yeah, when I did a hobby case of it, and it was just like I had to either be called out in the chat of like, hey, I think that was a variation, and like I hate it when I have to go back and basically sort through and just stare at the little tiny numbers at the bottom in the back of the card to look at the serial number to be like, is this a variation or is this the regular one? So it was a fun break, but I did not like the sorting as much as I like sorting other cards.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, It's definitely going to be with Gypsy Queen. All cards are going to ship, so I won't bother. Just you get all the cards and you can figure it out.
I mean, but you gotta figure it out so that you can provide adequate protection
That
for the
is
variation
true.
cards.
That is true. So I guess I'll have some studying to do on the Gypsy Queen checklist and how to identify.
I
But
mean, I
it's only
would
a few
probably,
blasters, so
yeah, I would probably just look for the image variations. The design
right.
variations aren't as much, but um, yeah, that I think that's a really cool idea. I believe you stole it from what, Joe?
Yep.
Um, and so, but I like that. I like that idea, and might be a something we steal in the future as another way to get people involved.
For sure,
Um,
and that's what it's all about. Yeah, I had
yeah,
one guy today was like, we should do this every month, and I was like, I don't think that's feasible. I'm not going to be hounding people to send in boxes every single month,
yeah,
but definitely will be in the rotation. Maybe we'll do something a little higher value in the future where we do like a team draft, multiple team draft, people send in hobbies or something like that. So we shall see.
yeah.
But yeah, and then after that, obviously, will be 2025 Series 1. So we, the collective we, you, I, and the Yellow Brick folks, have talked a decent amount about 2025 Series 1, but we haven't really dove into things. So let's talk about some rookies that we're targeting, possibly some teams that will provide good value for people that are looking to buy into break still. And then we'll get into some odds as well.
Yeah, of course. I've done a lot of research, as you know, and looked at a lot of this stuff. And so what I've done recently is I've got a very, very nifty little bit of Python code that someone wrote for me that lets me basically scrape 130 point, which is amazing because I can just get values and get averages back very quickly. And so what I did for the entire rookie list for 2025 is I scraped all of the values of Bowman cards for any of the rookies in that set from the last 6 months, and then basically kind of normalized their values to the median, um, to kind of get an idea of who's going to be who's trending up right now.
Mm-hmm.
And came up with a list of what about 6 guys, and I know you've got some sleepers that you want to talk about. um, I don't think any of the guys that I'm going to be listing are big surprises to anyone that's
Mm-hmm.
been kind of paying attention. Um, like, obviously, the two big names on the Nationals were right up there with Dylan Cruz and James Wood. Um, like, Dylan Cruz did real well last year. He's the number 4 prospect in the MLB. Um, and he played just over 30 games and put up just about half a WAR. So I feel like folks are kind of expecting him to really kind of take off from that.
For sure.
And James Wood, like, he kind of killed it last year with the Nats. If folks remember, he was part of the Juan Soto trade, so he was drafted by San Diego, and then um, he played almost a full half season last year, put up 122 OPS plus, and I think the only knock against him is his fielding hasn't been great, but um, you know, you're going to see a big uptick in how the Nats are valued this year. I think just because of those two guys.
For sure.
In terms of other position players that scored really well, Kobe Mayo's been doing doing really well on sale numbers, which is a little surprising. You know, he's in the top 20, top 15 of the MLB prospect list, but he did not he did not look good at the start of last year. Uh, he hit less than 100, like 4 singles in 17 games, and that was it.
Yeah.
And he's supposed to be a big power prospect guy, so obviously not exactly what you're looking for. And did you know? I didn't realize this, but when I was looking at him and looking back, he went to Marjorie Stoneman Douglas and was going there when when that shooting happened, which was just kind of a whoa thing for me.
Yeah, for sure. I had no idea.
Yeah. And then Jacob Wilson, who was drafted by the A's in 2023. The main reason he's been on my radar is because there was a guy that wanted to get into one of my breaks and who had trained him, and so he was trying to get the A's.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, and so like last year he did really well. Like he's got a really good hit tool. But he did not hit for power like at all.
Yeah,
And
right.
so I think there's a lot of hope that he could develop that and see where that goes. And so there's upside, but it's obviously not as great as some of the other guys.
Right.
And then I got 2 pitchers on my list. So Rhett Lauder for the Reds. He was really, really good last year. He pitched in 6 games and had almost 2 pitching WAR.
Jesus.
Like his ERA was under like 1.17. Only like big issue was he walked a ton of guys. He was walking 4 people a game. And then Jackson Jobe, who's the number 5 prospect in the MLB, and it's kind of hard to judge him. He pitched 4 innings in the majors last year,
Mm-hmm.
and so obviously he pitched enough to get on the checklist. And if I recall, I don't think he's actually in the base checklist, but he's got some autos, and so I would not be surprised if Jackson Jobe's prices are really, really high once Series 1 is released, just because he's going to have less cards and less autos than other guys.
Right. Yeah, I think he came out as a reliever, but he was probably going to be starting this year.
Yeah. And so who are some guys that have caught your eye that you've been interested in?
I have not run the numbers as diligently as you have. It's kind of more vibes for me. In general, with my collecting, I wish I had more expendable income that I could use to invest in my guys, but I do not. So I mostly stick to my team and my players. But just guys that I would be looking at are obviously one of the best nicknames in the league, Big Christmas, Jhonkensy Noel. He had an awesome postseason, had some big hits. He had some amazing plays in the field. I don't know if he's projected to be a superstar, but he's just super fun to watch, and it'll be really, really fun to see what he does in his first full season. Another guy I was looking at was actually because our aforementioned Toronto fan was like, why are the Blue Jays so high? And I was like, I don't know. Let me check the checklist. And I saw that Orelvis Martinez was a top prospect who got popped for PEDs last season. So he was projected, he was about to be called up or had just gotten called up or something, and then got slapped with an 80-game suspension. So he, I believe, is a middle infielder with some decent power. So if he's able to kind of right the ship and make up for some of his lost development time from last season, he could be a sneaky guy. And the Blue Jays are gearing up. They just signed Max Scherzer today to a 1-year deal. So they're not going to be rolling over this season. So it'll be interesting to see what he can do. And then lastly, I've just had this theory in my head for modern players, and the only duo that I know that it's true for is the Seager brothers, but I believe that generally the younger siblings should be better than the older siblings. So we all know that Corey Seager has done a lot better than Kyle Seager. Not to slander the Mariners legend, he was very good in Seattle, very solid, played his whole career there, which we love to see. But
I do not disagree.
but Corey has done a little bit more than he has with the Dodgers and the Rangers. So the last one is Jace Young, younger sibling of Josh Young. Again, there's no numerical data to back this up. This is just purely vibes. I just feel like younger brothers, as they're growing and developing, they benefit from the experience of the older brothers, and they usually, get to play against tougher competition as they're younger, so that helps them develop faster and just build a better foundation for them. So that's my younger sibling theory. We'll see if it's true.
Well, and younger siblings also just they trade on their last name as well, especially if their older sibling is established. Like,
right,
Josh Young was a top rookie, and so when people are looking, if they're kind of, they're just like, hey, that's Josh Young's younger brother, I'm going to collect him. Or Luis Angel Acuna. Like, there's always just a little bit of that, I forget what it's called now.
It's just like the cachet that you get from that last name.
Yeah. Yeah, and so going through the rookies, one of the other kind of thought exercises that I really went through was initially what I'd wanted to do is I wanted to compare, sort of identify break teams that are higher value, because we've talked before about how we kind of price to the floor of a checklist, whereas for-profit breakers tend to price towards the ceiling. And so that certainly lends itself to providing some distortions that you can kind of identify that are basically saying, you know what, if I spend my money here, I'm probably still going to get something really good, and it's going to be cheaper because they're charging all this money for, the Nats because they've got these two prospects.
Right.
And so you and I both kind of went through the checklist to try and identify some teams that we thought were going to be especially good value for 2025, especially for Series 1. What was my criteria was kind of like looking at high auto counts and looking at the pull rates on some of those autos, because the way my spreadsheets work is I adjust the checklist counts for the pull rates. And so when I, look at my teams and I look at whatever the auto number is, I know that, that means they've got a ton of the baseball stars autos, and there's stars in that and all of those different aspects, as opposed to, a checklist that's all things that you've got like a less than 1% chance of pulling. And so I kind of did that analysis. How were you looking at those teams when you were kind of making your picks?
Yeah, so I use your checklist, and I was looking at the star adjustment factor. That's what you use to assign value to teams based on, quote unquote stars. And I was doing that to kind of look for teams that had a high star rating but had a lower cost compared to some of the other teams, because that's not necessarily going to be the best investment value, but it's going to be the best chance of getting a cool card for a team that you like. So the biggest one that I saw, well, not the biggest one, but one of the biggest ones that I saw that I was looking into was the Boston Red Sox, because they have a super strong star auto checklist. It's like basically our era, early 2000s to late 2000s Red Sox powerhouse team of Pedroia, David Ortiz, all those guys are on the auto checklist. They're going to look great with the 1990 autos. You even have Roger Clemens signing for the Red Sox, and then they still have their solid sophomores like Rafaela and Wilyer Abreu. And then going further past the autos, they also have 3 all aces, which we know are case hit, are more rare than a case hit. I think it's like 1 in 3 or 4
Yeah.
this year. So they have 3 of those, which gives you a good chance if you get an all aces card that it'll be Red Sox. And they also have 2 for the Placata insert that we talked about last time, which we are excited to see. So in terms of overall value, they're definitely one of the lower, not lower, they're like middle tier using your spreadsheet, but they have the potential to return that value and then some, I would think.
Yeah. And so one of the teams that the ones that I returned as kind of like good value were, I feel like they've been kind of obvious because just the way that I do my pricing, they're always the most expensive teams. Even though they may or may not have the best rookies or for the year. So I know you and I agreed on probably the best value for the entire checklist is probably the Atlanta Braves.
Yeah.
Because they have just an insane auto checklist. Like, I went through and I counted all of the guys that have 4 or more autos on their checklist, and there's Chipper Jones, Ronald Acuna, David Justice, John Smoltz, Spencer Strider, Dale Murphy, Greg Maddux, Matt Olson, and Spencer Schwellenbach. Like, there's a ton of value there if that's what you're trying to go for. And then on top of that, like, they've got a lot of short prints and relics on that checklist and a lot of inserts. And so but they perfectly kind of fit the mold of, like, they don't have a ton of high value rookies on that checklist outside of maybe Spencer Schwellenbach.
Exactly.
And even then he's probably a second tier guy just because, you know, there can only be there can only be like one Paul Skeens every few years, if that, when it comes to pitching prospects, and those guys tend to lose their value faster. And so I think a lot of the focus is going to be on the hitting prospects for this year. And I think you're going to find a lot of value if you're trying to just get hits in a break, but buying into the Braves.
Yeah, definitely. And it's very on theme for the 1990 throwback that you have one of the biggest powerhouses of the 90s. And it's, like you said, it's all-stars, Hall of Famers, rookies. They've got a little bit of everything. So super robust checklist.
Yeah.
And then I guess will the other 2 teams that you identified are also pretty straightforward. The Yankees are one of them. They always have a crazy robust checklist. Every product, pretty much, the Yankees are always going to be at the top of the price chart just because they have Aaron Judge, who is a superstar and who's one of the most highly sought after and valued players currently in the league. And then
I think he has the most autos in the entire checklist as well.
Oh yeah, so that'll definitely do it. He is the cover boy, so it makes sense. And then they always get Jeter to sign, they always get Mo to sign. They just have a lot of solid guys. I don't think they have any big rookies. There's no Dominguez or Volpe so far, but obviously those guys are still on the checklist, and
yeah, and Juan Soto's still on their checklist, and so I think that will also that may depreciate the value of the Yankees a little bit, just because him going to the Mets, like, that kind of, you know, I wouldn't call it the Wander effect, but it's you know, the kind of effect of, would a Yankees fan necessarily want to buy into this because they there's a good chance they're going to be getting Juan Soto cards.
Yeah, I would imagine if you're a Juan Soto fan, you would rather have a not Mets, a Padres or a Nats Juan Soto at this point in his career, because those are kind of more iconic. I mean, Nats Juan Soto is probably the most iconic at this point, but
Yeah.
it's still, he's still a superstar. He's still one of the best players in the league. So that is going to drive the value. And then at the second spot, you had the Orioles. Obviously, they still have Gunnar Henderson, one of the top players in the league, one of the most exciting young players. And then they have Kobe Mayo, as we talked about. They always have a decent Hall of Fame checklist as well, led by Ripken and Eddie Murray this year. And then I don't know, do you know about, you wrote down Cade Povich. Is he a name to watch out for maybe on a lower tier? Or he's just a guy?
I don't think so. I think he's just one of those rookies that signed a
Yeah.
fair amount. But as you mentioned, the Orioles have been really strong the past couple of years with their rookie classes, and they're kind of riding that wave. And sure, guys like Gunnar, they've shed their rookie designation, but as you know, like with Corbin Carroll and Sino with J-Rod, they're still in that product and they're still good value for their autographs. So it's not the same as rookie stuff, but it's still good value when you're looking at pricing to go for those guys that are in their second or third year and trying to get those.
Yeah, definitely. And lastly, what we do want to get into is some odds breakdowns, and what, if you've heard Alex talk about odds previously, what he has to say may shock you.
Yeah. So one of the things that I've been working on recently is I've been doing a lot of programming in R to try and process these odds spreadsheets that that Topps puts out, to kind of be able to quickly compare how things work across all the different products. And so one of the things that I did was I basically did a comparison running of this script, where if I were to spend $100 on packs from 5 products, either jumbo boxes, hobby boxes, hangers, megas, or blasters, what is the odds that I'm going to pull a particular type of card? And so I did it for 5 different things. I did it for autos, I did it for relics, I did it for short print design variations, so things like team border variations, true photo, golden mirror, short print inserts, so things like the all aces, the heavy lumber, the home field advantage cards, etc., and then for common inserts. And so I went through that, and basically, just for everyone's information, jumbos in general are still like the overwhelming favorite to pull an auto. Makes sense. There's a guaranteed auto in the box. If you're spending $100, you're basically buying 5 packs of a jumbo, as opposed to spending $100 on a hobby. You're buying a full hobby. What I basically computed was, if you buy a random hobby off the shelf, you've got like a 37% chance of pulling an autograph. Whereas if you buy half the packs out of a jumbo box, you've got almost a 50% chance of pulling an auto. Same thing with the relics. Relics are, you're much more likely to pull a relic when you are buying jumbo packs, with hobbies following that up. And it's significant. Like, if you want to get one of those 2 things, buy a jumbo or a hobby. Don't be going for hangers, megas, or blasters. The odds are just significantly worse for both of those. When we're looking at sort of the design variations, it was interesting to me because megas very much top the list. it was a lot closer. So you've got about a 17.5% chance of pulling a design variation if you buy 2 megas. And then, whereas hobbies were 16.75. So it's still pretty close. I was very surprised to see how bad jumbos and hangers were. It basically kind of trended towards your best chance for getting a design variation depends on how many packs you're opening as opposed to like individual packs. And so it would make sense because hangers have a single pack in the box and jumbos have 10 packs in their box. Whereas if you go up in megas, you're opening almost like 64 packs. Same deal for short print inserts. Megas are your best bet, followed by hobbies. And then for common inserts, that's really the only place the blasters kind of shine. In general, blasters, just in general, don't buy blasters. They're not a good use of your money unless you really, really want the like blaster specific inserts and and parallels. Like, you are always better off spending your money on a different product, and that is something that I have hardened into and become a zealot about the more I have dove into these odd sheets. And to be clear, that only applies to flagship. When there's formats that don't offer those, then it's a different story. And so just in general, like when it comes to recommendations, like it really depends on what you want the best chance at as a collector. Like if you're looking for just the autos or relics, go for the jumbo. And just recognize though that your chances of pulling those short prints or those design variations is not particularly good. If your focus is on the short prints, you're going to want to go for megas. But the thing that surprised me the most when I was going through this is that hobby boxes came in second for every single one of those 5 categories. And it ended up turning out that if you want to buy just one product and have a chance at all the different things, your best odds are buying a hobby box, which surprised the hell out of me as someone who has been very much anti-hobby for quite a long time. And yeah, I don't. What are your thoughts on that, Pierce?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of been a given that it's just like, oh yeah, if you're gonna get a jumbo or 2 hobbies, you might as well just get a jumbo. And so I'm honest. I mean, I'm planning to do more 2025 Series 1, and I was just like, oh yeah, I'll just do a case of jumbos. But now I'm rethinking things because I do think it's more exciting to go for some of these short print inserts and design variations rather than just the guaranteed auto that you get. And especially because in these flagship boxes, in these first wave of releases, you're getting a decent amount of bonus hits. I want to say an update, we almost had like every other box had a bonus hit or something like that when we did those breaks. Not that that's something that you should rely on, but if, like you said, it depends on what your ultimate goal is. But I am a big fan of short print designs. I'm a big fan of the short print inserts, especially All Aces, as we've talked about. Home Field Advantage looks really nice. The ones that we've seen, that Lindor Home Field Advantage looks really good this year. I've definitely been iffy on it in the past, but if they're more similar to that Lindor that we've seen, then I'll definitely be in on them more this year. So I might be following you on the hobby train.
Yeah, as I said, I was blown away when I was looking through it. Like, yeah, it was extremely surprising. Like, I even went through and I checked it a couple different ways. Cause like I checked it, by like weighting the different products, where like giving an auto like a 5 weighting and then like a short print insert of a 4, and then a relic of 3, variation of 2, and then like just the insert of 1. And hobby came out on top every time, no matter how I would change it, unless I made the weighting like really extreme.
Right.
Like it just, they perform admirably in all 5 of those sectors, and so it's made me rethink my strategy for if I'm gonna buy any more Series 1, because I bought a jumbo for myself on pre-order, and now I'm like, should I buy a hobby when it comes out, just to see?
Well,
because as you said, like, all aces are my favorite, and
yes,
they're only in those 2 formats now, which sucks, but oh well.
It shows how much you don't want it to be true, but you have to admit it is true when the best you can do is say they performed admirably.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's clearly, I trust your numbers. It's clearly not a fluke. There's a few other numbers guys that are around the servers that I'm sure can corroborate your findings. So you have heard it here first. I don't know if that's true, but we're just going to say it. Probably because you've posted it in the Discords as well, but you've listened to it here first that hobbies are the way to go in 2025. So as we wrap up, we talked about what you have coming up. Where can our listeners find you if they want to reach out?
Yeah, everybody can find me at my YouTube channel, APW Breaks. I'm also a mod and extremely active on the Father and Son Discord. If you're on the existing Discords, I'm on both Pierce's and Wax's Discords. So just feel free to reach out if you want an invite link. Otherwise, I have the invite as well on my YouTube. But now that I'm realizing, I probably need to take that down because I think they expire after a week. So yeah, just reach out to me on Discord, and I'm happy to provide an invite to our server if you're interested.
Yes, APW on Discord. As you know, if you're a listener to this podcast, if this is the first episode that you're listening, thank you very much. You can find me at Pierce Breaks on Instagram and YouTube, also on Reddit at reddit.com/r/Pierce Breaks. And of course, my Discord server. I have invites on Instagram, on YouTube. I'm in Father and Son Discord. I'm in the Yellow Brick Road Discord. So just let me know if you want an invite. There's a lot of crossover. As we stated at the beginning, we all have very similar philosophies to collecting, and we're just super happy that these groups exist, and also that our smaller group of breakers exists where we can share these ideas and collaborate and just sound things off of each other and do break battles and all that stuff. So it's been a blast getting to know all of these guys, and can't forget to give a big shout out to producer Metzi for making this all happen and coordinating all our schedules to get these episodes recorded and make sure that we have people that can record the episodes between the 4 of us, and hopefully getting Matt in the mix soon as well. So thank you very much, Alex, and hopefully we will talk to you again soon.